Captain Jake Morrison stared at the red lights flashing across his command screen. Each light meant another human colony was under attack. Each light meant thousands of people were dying. His hands gripped the edge of his chair as he watched. More lights appear on the map. "Sir, we're getting distress calls from New Terra Colony," said Officer Danny Price from his station. His voice was shaking. "They say the Zephyrian ships came out of nowhere. The colonists are trapped." Jake felt. His stomach dropped. New Terra was home to 50,000 people. Most of them were families who had left Earth to start new lives among the stars. They had no military training. They had no weapons strong enough to fight off alien warships. "What about our defense fleet?" Jake asked. "Where are our ships?" "Still 3 days away, sir," Danny replied. "The Zephyrians hit all our outer colonies at the same time. Our forces are spread too thin." More red lights appeared on the screen. Olympus Station was under attack now. Then the mining colonies on Kepler. The Zephyrians were moving fast and hitting hard. It was like they knew exactly where to strike and when. Commander Lisa Brady rushed onto the bridge. Her face was pale, and her hands were holding a datapad. Jake had never seen her look so worried before. "Captain, you need to see this," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I just got a message from the Galactic Council." Jake took the datapad and read the message. His blood turned cold. The Galactic Council had received humanity's request for help. They had debated it for hours in their great chamber on Centrum Prime. The vote was clear. They would not send any ships to help the human colonies. "They're abandoning us," Jake said. He could not believe what he was reading. "The Council is leaving us to die," Lisa nodded. "It gets worse, sir. The message says they don't want to risk a war with the Zephyrian Empire. They think helping us would make the Zephyrians angry enough to attack other Council worlds." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. For 30 years, humans had been part of the Galactic Council. They had sent their young people to fight in Council wars. They had shared their technology and resources. They had followed every rule and law the Council had made. And now, when humans needed help the most, the Council was turning their backs. "Get me Admiral Kevin Stone," Jake ordered, "right now." The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen a few minutes later. Kevin Stone was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been fighting for human rights in the Council for 20 years. Now he looked like a man who had lost everything he believed in. "Jake, I know why you're calling," the Admiral said. "I just got the same message from the Council. They won't help us." "Sir, there has to be something we can do," Jake said. "We can't just let our people die." Admiral Stone shook his head. "I've been trying to talk to Council members all day. They're all saying the same thing. Humanity is on its own." The communication was cut short when alarms started blaring on both ships. New reports were coming in from the colonies. The attacks were getting worse. The Zephyrians were not just destroying military targets. They were bombing cities. They were targeting schools and hospitals. They were killing everyone they could find. Lisa brought Jake another datapad. This one had intelligence reports from their spy networks. What Jake read made him feel sick to his stomach. "The Council didn't just refuse to help us," he said slowly. "They gave the Zephyrians information about our colonies." Lisa nodded. "The report shows that the Council shared our patrol routes with the Zephyrian Empire 3 weeks ago. They also gave them maps of our defensive positions and lists of our colony populations." Jake stared at the data. The betrayal was complete. The Council had not just abandoned humanity. They had actively helped their enemies plan the attack. They had sold out their own allies to protect themselves. Officer Danny Price looked up from his station. "Sir, I'm getting a transmission from Dr. Amanda Clark on Luna Base. She says she has urgent news about the attacks." "Put her through," Jake ordered. Dr. Clark's face appeared on the screen. She was a small woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes. She worked for human military research and usually stayed calm during crisis situations. Today, she looked angry. "Captain Morrison, I've been analyzing the Zephyrian attack patterns," she said. "They're using weapons we've never seen before. Energy beams that can cut through our strongest shields. Bombs that can destroy entire city blocks." "Where did they get these weapons?" Jake asked. "That's what worries me," Dr. Clark replied. "Some of this technology looks familiar. It's based on research that was banned by the Council 50 years ago, research that was supposed to be destroyed." Jake felt pieces of a terrible puzzle falling into place. "You think the Council gave them our old weapon designs too?" "I think the Council has been planning this for a long time," Dr. Clark said. "They wanted to get rid of humanity, but they didn't want to dirty their own hands. So they found someone else to do it for them." The bridge fell silent as everyone understood what this meant. The Galactic Council had not just betrayed humanity. In a moment of fear, they had planned the destruction of every human colony. They had helped their enemies become strong enough to wipe out an entire species. Over the next week, the reports got worse and worse. Colony after colony fell to the Zephyrian attacks. Millions of humans were killed. The survivors sent desperate messages begging for help from anyone who would listen. Jake watched the final transmission from New Terra Colony. A young girl named Mary was speaking into a broken communicator. Behind her, the colony buildings were burning. Explosions lit up the sky. "Please help us," Mary said. Her voice was small and scared. "We're just farmers. We never hurt anyone. Please don't let us die." The transmission cut to static. New Terra Colony went dark forever. Jake turned to his crew. Every face on the bridge showed the same emotions: grief for the dead, anger at the betrayal, and something else. Something cold and dangerous. "Send a message to all human ships," Jake ordered. "Tell them to return to Earth space immediately. We need to regroup." "What do we tell the families of the dead?" Lisa asked. Jake looked at the star map one more time. All the red lights had stopped flashing. The colonies were gone. 2 million humans had died while their allies watched and did nothing. "Tell them the truth," Jake said. "Tell them the Council begged for mercy from the Zephyrians. And tell them that humanity will never beg for anything again." 3 months after the last human colony went silent, Dr. Amanda Clark walked through the halls of Luna Research Station. The place was different now. Gone were the bright lights and cheerful conversations. Everything was dark and quiet. The scientists who remained worked day and night with only one goal in mind. Amanda stopped at the door of Laboratory 7. Inside, her team was working on something that would have horrified the old Galactic Council. Before the betrayal, this kind of research was banned. The Council called it too dangerous for civilized beings. Now Amanda did not care what the Council thought. "Dr. Clark, we've made another breakthrough," said Dr. Carl Watson. He was a young man who used to work on peaceful projects like farming equipment. Now he spent his time designing weapons that could kill aliens more efficiently. Amanda looked at the screen Carl was pointing to. The display showed a new type of energy weapon. It was small enough for one person to carry, but powerful enough to destroy an armored vehicle. "The Council's energy shields can't stop this," Carl explained. "We tested it against Zephyrian shield technology. The beam goes right through like the shield isn't even there." "Good," Amanda said. She felt no guilt about creating such terrible weapons. Every time she thought about the murdered colonists, her resolve grew stronger. "How many can we build?" "As many as you want," Carl replied. "Every human world is sending us resources. Mars has tripled their metal production. The asteroid miners are working around the clock. Everyone wants to help." Amanda nodded and moved to the next laboratory. Inside, Dr. Nancy Green was working on something even more frightening. She was changing human soldiers at the genetic level, making them faster and stronger than any natural human had ever been. The first test subjects are ready, Nancy said. She pointed to a group of volunteers who had agreed to be changed. They looked like normal humans, but Amanda knew they were much more than that now. One of the volunteers, a former colony guard named Pete Johnson, demonstrated his new abilities. He moved so fast that Amanda could barely see him. His reflexes were perfect. His strength was incredible. Most importantly, his mind was connected to a computer network that let him share information instantly with other modified soldiers. They can coordinate better than any alien army, Nancy explained. When one sees something, they all know about it immediately. They never get tired. They never feel fear. They are the perfect soldiers. Amanda watched Pete lift a piece of equipment that would normally require 3 men to move. The transformation was complete. Humanity was creating something new, something designed for war. Across the solar system, other projects were moving forward. On Mars, General Monica Davis was building the largest spy network in galactic history. Her agents had been secretly placed on every Council world years before the betrayal. Now those agents were sending back information about alien military positions, political leaders, and weaknesses. Monica sat in her command center reading reports from 100 different worlds. She knew where every Council fleet was located. She knew which alien leaders were planning what. She knew about secret weapons projects and hidden military bases. The Council thought they were safe in their distant worlds, but Monica could see everything they were doing. "General, we've completed the mapping of Zephyr Prime," said Major Frank Lee. He was one of Monica's best intelligence officers. "We know the location of every important building on their homeworld." Monica smiled coldly. "What about their defense systems?" "We know about those too," Frank replied. "Our agents have been studying them for months. We know exactly how to bypass their shields and destroy their orbital weapons." The information was being shared with Captain Ryan Hughes, who was training the first groups of human strike teams. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were the modified humans from Dr. Green's laboratory, equipped with Dr. Watson's new weapons, and guided by General Davis's intelligence networks. Ryan watched his teams practice in the training facilities on Europa. They moved like nothing he had ever seen before. They could appear anywhere without warning, strike with overwhelming force, and disappear before the enemy could respond. Each team was small, but they could do the work of an entire army. "How many teams will be ready for the first operation?" asked Colonel Ben Martinez. He was planning the attacks that would begin humanity's revenge. 50 teams, Ryan replied. Each team can take out a military base or government building. They won't know what hit them. The first sign of what was coming happened near the outer rim territories. A Zephyrian battle fleet was patrolling the space where human colonies used to exist. The fleet had 12 ships and over 10,000 alien soldiers. They thought they were safe because no human military forces were supposed to be in that area. The attack lasted only minutes. Human strike teams appeared on every Zephyrian ship at the same time. The alien crews never had time to send a distress signal or fight back. When it was over, 12 Zephyrian warships were floating dead in space. Commander Steve Johnson was leading one of the strike teams during that first attack. He walked through the corridors of the Zephyrian flagship, stepping over the bodies of aliens who had been celebrating their victory over humanity just hours before. "Team leaders, report," Steve said into his communicator. "Ship 1 secured," came the first reply. "Ship 2 secured," came the second. One by one, all 12 ships reported the same thing: complete victory. No human casualties. The Zephyrian fleet had been wiped out without firing a single shot in defense. Steve looked at the alien, Captain's body lying on the bridge floor. 3 months ago, this creature had been bombing human children. Now it was dead, and its entire fleet was destroyed. The balance of power in the galaxy was beginning to change. Back on Earth, Admiral Kevin Stone was coordinating the larger strategy. He had been working with the Council for 20 years, trying to find peaceful solutions to every problem. Now he was planning a war that would reshape the entire galaxy. The second Zephyrian fleet will arrive in that sector in 3 days, Kevin told his staff. They'll find nothing but wreckage, no survivors, no clues about what happened. What? About the Council? Asked Captain Helen Wright. She was one of Kevin's most trusted officers. They'll start asking questions when alien fleets keep disappearing. Kevin's face showed no emotion. Let them ask. By the time they figure out what's happening, it will be too late to stop us. The transformation of humanity was complete. In just 3 months, they had gone from victims to predators. They had built weapons the galaxy had never seen. They had created soldiers who could not be defeated. They had gathered intelligence that gave them power over their enemies. Most importantly, they had learned to stop caring about rules and mercy in civilization. The Council had taught them that the galaxy was a place where only the strong survived, where allies could become enemies without warning, where peaceful people could be murdered while their friends watched and did nothing. Humanity had learned that lesson very well. Now they were ready to teach it to everyone else. 6 months after the first Zephyrian fleet disappeared, the galaxy was beginning to understand that something terrible was happening. Alien ships were vanishing without a trace. Military bases were found empty with no signs of struggle. Important. Government officials were disappearing from their homes in the middle of the night. Colonel Ben Martinez stood on the observation deck of the human warship Retribution, watching Zephyr Prime burn below him. The Zephyrian homeworld had been under attack for 3 days. Human ships surrounded the planet like a steel net, making sure nothing could escape. Status report, Ben said to his communications officer. All major cities are under our control, Lieutenant Rachel Stone replied. The Zephyrian government has stopped broadcasting. Their military command centers have been destroyed. Ben nodded and turned to watch another section of the planet's surface light up with explosions. The orbital bombardment was precise and merciless. Every Zephyrian military facility was being turned to rubble. Every weapons factory was being destroyed. Every spaceport was being reduced to twisted metal. But Ben was not just destroying military targets. He was making sure the Zephyrians would never be able to threaten anyone again. Power plants, communication networks, transportation systems, and industrial complexes were all being systematically eliminated. Sir, we're getting a transmission from the planet, Rachel said. It's from the Zephyrian High Council. Put it through, Ben ordered. The face of a Zephyrian leader appeared on the screen. The alien looked terrified. Its large eyes were filled with panic, and its hands were shaking as it spoke. Please stop the bombing, the Zephyrian begged. We surrender. We will give you anything you want. Just please stop killing our people. Ben stared at the alien for a long moment. Then he remembered the recordings from New Terra Colony. He remembered the voice of the little girl named Mary, asking for help as her world burned around her. Did you stop when our children begged for mercy? Ben asked quietly. The Zephyrian's face went pale. We ... We were following orders. The Council told us that humans were a threat to galactic peace. The Council lied to you, Ben said. Just like they lied to us. But that doesn't change what you did to our colonies. Ben cut the transmission and turned back to his officers. Continue the bombardment. No survivors in government or military positions. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. Commander Steve Johnson was leading the attack on Centauri Station, the trading hub where many Council species conducted business. His strike teams had taken control of the station in less than an hour. Steve walked through the main corridor, past groups of alien civilians who had been rounded up by his soldiers. These were not military targets. They were shopkeepers, traders, and office workers. But they represented species that had voted to abandon humanity during the crisis. "Commander, we've captured the station administrator," said Sergeant Mike Davis. He was dragging a tall, blue-skinned alien who kept trying to speak. "Please, we are not soldiers," the alien said. "We are peaceful traders. We never hurt any humans." Steve stopped and looked at the creature. "Your government voted to let our colonies burn. That makes you complicit. But we had no choice in that decision," the alien protested. "We are just civilians trying to make a living." "So were the farmers on New Terra," Steve replied. "Did that stop your people from voting to abandon them?" Steve gave orders to his soldiers. All the aliens on the station would be loaded onto ships and sent back to their homeworlds with a message. Any species that had participated in humanity's betrayal would face the same fate as the Zephyrians. Meanwhile, Captain Helen Wright was conducting a very different kind of operation on Centrum Prime, the former capital of the Galactic Council. Her mission was not to destroy buildings or kill soldiers. She was hunting the Council members themselves. Helen crept through the underground, tunnels beneath the Council chambers. Her enhanced senses could track the alien leaders even incomplete. Darkness. Her modified reflexes made her faster than any security system they had. She found the first Council member hiding in a safe room deep underground. It was a small gray creature that had been one of the loudest voices calling for humanity's abandonment. Now it cowered in the corner as Helen approached. "Ambassador Krell," Helen said. "You remember me, don't you? I was at the meeting where you convinced the others not to help our colonies." The alien's large black eyes filled with terror. "I was protecting my people. The Zephyrians threatened to attack us if we helped humans. So you decided to sacrifice us instead," Helen said. "That was a mistake." Helen activated a recording device and began asking questions. She wanted every detail about the Council's decision to betray humanity. She wanted to know which species had voted for abandonment and which had simply stayed silent. She wanted names, dates, and evidence. When she was finished, she uploaded the recording to the Galactic Communication Network. Within hours, every species in known space would hear a Council member confessing to the conspiracy against humanity. Director Paul Newman was coordinating these information operations from his base on Luna. His job was to make sure every alien species understood exactly what had happened and why humanity was now at war with the Council. The Andorian government just issued a statement, his assistant informed him. They're claiming they never supported the decision to abandon human colonies. Paul smiled coldly. Show them the voting records. Show them the communications between their ambassador and the Zephyrian Empire. Make sure everyone knows they're lying. The propaganda campaign was working perfectly. Species that had remained neutral during the betrayal were now turning against the Council. They could see that humanity had evidence of every secret deal and hidden agreement. They knew that lying would only make their situation worse. As the war continued, the Council's mighty fleets were being systematically destroyed. Human forces appeared without warning, struck with overwhelming force, and vanished before help could arrive. The aliens had no defense against enemies, who could predict their every move and strike at their weakest points. Admiral Susan Clark was commanding the final assault on the Council's main battle fleet. 200 alien warships had gathered near the Vega system, hoping to make a stand against human forces. It was the largest military formation the Council had ever assembled. "All human ships, begin the attack," Susan ordered. What followed was not a battle. It was a massacre. The council ships were destroyed so quickly that most of them never had time to return fire. Human weapons cut through their shields like they were made of paper. Human tactics were so advanced that the aliens could not understand what was happening to them. In less than an hour, 200 alien warships were reduced to floating debris. The Council's ability to resist humanity was broken forever. As reports of victory came in from across the galaxy, Susan allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The species that had betrayed humanity were learning the price of their decision. The Council that had abandoned human colonies was being destroyed piece by piece, but this was still not enough. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity would never again tolerate betrayal or abandonment. The lesson needed to be written in a way that would never be forgotten. 1 year after the first human colony was destroyed, Admiral Susan Clark walked through the ruins of the great Council chamber on Centrum Prime. The massive dome that had once housed the galaxy's most powerful leaders was now a broken shell. Sunlight streamed through holes in the ceiling, where human bombs had torn through the ancient structure. 50 alien leaders knelt in the rubble before her. These were the survivors of the Galactic Council, the ones who had voted to abandon humanity. In their darkest hour, their fancy robes were torn and dirty. Their proud faces showed only fear and desperation. "Admiral Clark," said the former council speaker, a tall creature with 4 arms and golden skin, "we formally surrender to human forces. We accept all terms you wish to impose." Susan looked down at the alien who had once commanded fleets that could destroy entire star systems. Now he was begging for mercy from the species he had betrayed. The irony was not lost on her. "The terms are simple," Susan said. "Every species that participated in our abandonment will pay compensation equal to 10 times their annual economic output. Your military fleets will be disbanded and scrapped. Your colonies will be open to human oversight and control." The council speaker's face went pale. "Those terms would destroy our civilizations. Our people would starve. Our economies would collapse." "Our people did starve," Susan replied coldly. "Our children did die. Did you care about that when you voted to let the Zephyrians kill them?" Another council member, a small blue creature, spoke up with a trembling voice. "But we had no choice. The Zephyrians threatened to attack our worlds if we helped humans." Susan turned to face the creature. "You had a choice. You chose to sacrifice your allies to save yourselves. Now you get to live with the consequences of that choice." The formal surrender ceremony was being broadcast across the galaxy. Every species in known space could watch as the mighty Galactic Council knelt before human representatives and accepted terms that would reshape the balance of power forever. Captain Tony Adams was establishing the first human occupation, government on Andoria Prime. The Andorians had been one of the loudest voices supporting humanity's abandonment, claiming that humans were too violent and unpredictable to be reliable allies. Tony walked through the Andorian capital city, past buildings that now flew human flags instead of Andorian ones. Human soldiers patrolled the streets, making sure the local population followed the new rules that had been imposed on them. "Sir, the Andorian Prime Minister wants to speak with you," said Lieutenant Mark Brown. "He's asking for a meeting about the new taxation policies." Tony nodded. "Bring him to my office. Let's see what he has to say." The Andorian Prime Minister was a middle-aged alien with gray skin and large, sad eyes. He had been in power during the council vote and had personally argued that humanity deserved whatever happened to them. "Governor Adams," the Prime Minister said, using Tony's new title, "the taxes you have imposed are too high. My people cannot pay 60% of their income to human authorities." Tony leaned back in his chair. "Your people should have thought about that before they voted to let our people die. But that decision was made by our government, Not by ordinary citizens, the Prime Minister protested. Why should farmers and factory workers suffer for choices they had no part in making? Why should human children have suffered for choices they had no part in making? Tony asked. Your government represented your people. Your people are responsible for your government's actions. The new taxation system was just one part of humanity's plan to ensure that betrayal would never happen. Again, every species that had abandoned humanity would spend the next 50 years paying for their decision. Their wealth would be transferred to human worlds. Their resources would serve human interests. Their children would grow up knowing that crossing humanity carried a terrible price. Commander Nicole Brown was documenting the final statistics of the war for the historical record. She sat in her office on Earth, surrounded by reports from across the galaxy. The numbers told the story of humanity's complete victory. 47 alien species have been conquered or destroyed, she wrote in her report. 312 worlds are now under direct human control. The former Galactic Council has been dissolved and replaced with the Human Colonial Authority. The transformation was total. Species that had once looked down on humanity as crude and barbaric now begged for permission to trade with human merchants. Governments that had dismissed human concerns now sent daily reports to human administrators. But the changes went deeper than politics and economics. The galaxy itself had learned to fear humanity in a way that would last for generations. Dr. Amanda Clark was working on the next phase of human expansion. Her research teams were developing new technologies that would make human dominance permanent. Weapons that could destroy entire fleets with a single shot. Genetic modifications that would make humans even stronger and smarter. Surveillance systems that could monitor every alien world simultaneously. How long before the new weapons are ready? Asked General Monica Davis during their weekly meeting. 6 months for the prototype, Amanda replied. Once we have that, we can begin mass production. The weapons were not really necessary anymore. No alien species had the courage to challenge human authority. But Amanda wanted to make sure that future generations of aliens would never even think about betraying humanity, Captain Jake Morrison, who had witnessed the first attacks on human colonies, was now overseeing the construction of memorial sites on the former alien worlds. Each memorial contained the names of every human who had died during the betrayal. Each memorial reminded the local alien population of what happened when humanity's trust was broken. Jake stood before the memorial on Zephyr Prime, reading the names carved into black stone. 2 million humans had died because their allies had chosen to abandon them. Now 50 billion aliens lived under human rule because their leaders had made that choice. The construction is complete, sir, said engineer Gary Wilson. All 2,000 memorial sites are finished. Jake nodded. Good. Make sure the local populations understand that these memorials are permanent. They will stand for 1,000 years. As a reminder of what betrayal costs. The galaxy that emerged from humanity's war of revenge was a very different place. The age of the Galactic Council was over. The time when multiple species shared power equally had ended. Now there was only human authority, human law, and human justice. Species that had once been proud and independent now existed at humanity's pleasure. Their survival depended on following human orders and serving human interests. They had learned that mercy was something only the strong could afford to give, and humanity had learned that they were strong enough to survive without giving any mercy at all. The aliens had begged for mercy when their worlds burned and their fleets were destroyed. Humanity had answered with fury, and that fury had reshaped the galaxy forever. Now every species in known space understood the most important lesson of all. Never betray humanity. Never abandon humanity. Never forget that humans remember everything and forgive nothing. The price of that lesson had been paid in blood and fire. Across 1,000 worlds. It was a price the galaxy would never stop paying.